Welcome back, guys. We're continuing on this Making Williams Great Again challenge, and we're at Austin, Texas. We're on a sprint race, and we've qualified in 15th and 19th. We didn't actually qualify 15th though. I think some other cars took some grid penalties. So let's take a look to see what the ideal tyre is. Looks like it's going to be the medium. Now, I am getting rather low on my powertrain condition, so I am using slightly worn parts. So 49% on the engine, 35% on this engine, but they cost 5 million for the engines. So I really don't know what to do. I've got 5 races left basically, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make the engines that I've got left last for 5 races. So I'm going to end up having to pay 10 million for 2 new engines, I would have thought. But I just simply haven't got the cash at the moment. So I could go into the red, but then the board are going to be a bit angry at me. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to try and make them last, at least for this race and next race. Might replace Albon's at the end of this race, and then if I've got the cash, replace Joe's at the end of the next race. But I'm really tempted to just not spend the 10 million and just not get very good results for the last 5 races of the season, and then save the 10 million for upgrading the facilities. I don't know, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. Well, unfortunately Albon lost 3 places off the start, so that is likely because of my worn powertrain. So I think what I might do is just blitz my way through the last 5 races of the season, not really try to compete, and just get the second season underway. So I might not upload the last few races of the season, because I might just play them on time 16 speed. So I'll have a little think about what I want to do. But for now, let's just see how we get on in this sprint race, which doesn't look like it's going to be very good. So let's just advance the speed. We need to cool the tyres down a bit. I don't think there's any point in pushing on the fuel right now either. So let's calm down on the fuel.
DRS is currently disabled.
So we haven't managed to get any overtakes done with the batteries. And now we're just dropping behind. So yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere higher than 18th, unfortunately. So I think I am just going to time 16 the rest of the season. I haven't really got anything to fight for. Doesn't help when the driver runs wide, but it didn't look like it actually cost him any time, so I think it was barely wide at all. Virtual safety car,
Yes,
pretty
see.
irrelevant. It's not going to make
So
any difference
positive
to
on the
us.
Delta.
Yeah, copy.
Oh, Zhou. It was Zhou that crashed. Are you kidding?
So VSC ending.
Has he just racked
Okay.
up another bloody repair bill? Art thou kidding, Zhou?
The Williams driver comes away from
Oh, let's see what damage he's done. Unfortunately, you can't just decide not to race. Oh god. He ruined the chassis, the front wing, the side pods and the suspension. And we haven't got... Oh, we have got spares. What the hell, man? That's just cost me another bloody... Oh my god, he ruined the ERS and the engine as well. And the gearbox, that was at 90%, is now at 50. Oh, Joe, what did you do? That's another bloody 5 million worth of damage he's just caused. Oh dear. Right, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just going to times 16 the rest of the season, and I don't want to have to keep spending a crap load of money on repairs. I'd rather just retire with the cars at the start of the season. I don't know if you can do that, but at least that way I'm not going to have to spend any money on repairs. I don't know, I'll have a look. Right, yeah, I think I am just going to see if I can just retire at the start of each race and then just get the second season underway, because these repair bills are just getting ridiculous. Don't know why Zhou's making so many bloody mistakes. So yeah, I'll probably just cut this season short and then I'll see you at the start of the next season. Okay. Welcome back, guys. We are at the start of the second season now, and I just wanted to point something out which is very odd. So, basically, I made a note of all of my car part research just before the season ended, just so I could see how it actually interacts on the following season. So I'll show you on here first what I mean. Ah, damn it, I can't. Okay, let's see if I can show you on here. I can't. Okay, so on the right hand side you have car performance. Now on the actual design of your car, all of these are the same, no matter whether it's chassis, front wing, rear wing, all of the parts, this car performance stays the same. Which is what you'd expect, because it's the car as a whole, and these are the stats for the car. Now, on your research for each individual part, each one of your car parts has a different stat, which makes no sense at all, because how can a chassis have different stats to a front wing, which has different stats to a rear wing? They all do different things. So you should have a total amount like you do on the design, a car amount rather than an individual part amount. So what I wanted to do, I made a note of each individual car part's stats, because I wanted to see if it was add them all together, divide it by the amount of car parts, and that's the number that you came up with, which is what I assumed would happen. Now, the reason that I was doing this is because during last season, my chassis and my side pods got a penalty. So, like, everybody's chassis and side pods got a penalty to their air intake, I think it was. And so you got minus 30% on the side pods and minus 10% on the chassis. So I was thinking there's no point in researching these two parts if I'm just going to get a 30% penalty to all of the research and a 10% penalty to the research here, if all it was going to do was add all the numbers together and divide them by the amount of parts. So that is my reasoning behind the test. Okay, so this is the results of the test. It makes no bloody sense whatsoever. I'll show you what I mean. So, if we have a look here, it shows you, where are we? ATR, pit crew. Here it is. Internal car report. So it shows you last year's car performance and this year's car performance. Now, this year's car performance, the top speed is 322 kilometers an hour. Now, none of my car parts from last year were as high as this. None of them. So it wasn't to add them all up and divide them by the amount, because not a single one of them was above 321 and a half, I think. So how they've managed to come up with this number, I have no idea whatsoever, because it's higher than anything that I had. And the same applies for all of these. They were all higher than anything that I had, apart from the DRS effectiveness, which was actually, I had one car part that had 63.58. So this one stat looked like it was the highest of the car parts. All of the others make no sense whatsoever because they're all higher than my maximum. So I have no idea. Unfortunately, my test has not given me any inkling as to how the hell this research business works. So yeah, just thought I'd point that out. It's really, really bloody confusing. So obviously it makes a difference researching your car, but how you allocate your research, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I thought I'd show you that anyway. Okay, so it's the start of the new season. We're in January the 1st. I haven't actually done anything yet. So let's have a look. We've got the pit crew training that we need to sort out. Let's have a look at our facilities first. So I managed to get the CFD simulator up to 4 out of 5, which is absolutely fantastic. The last one, though, costs 29 million, which is just disgusting. That's almost double than the previous one. I think the previous was 17 million. So I'm not sure if I'm going to bother with this final one. 29 million just seems completely extortionate. And the wind tunnel is probably going to be the same. It's going to be 4 out of 5, so I'm guessing that is going to cost the same because they've cost the same for each individual one. Up to this point, both of these have cost the same. So I'm guessing that I'm not going to be investing into these any longer. One thing that I will point out as well, in the previous game, at the start of each season, you got like a lump sum. Well, the engine manufacturer basically costs the same amount as the lump sum that you started with, so you don't actually start with a lump sum to be able to buy anything. Now you might be able to, if you actually score some decent points and get high up in the constructors, you might end up with some extra money then. But if you finish last like we did, you don't get any money to start with. Okay, so that is that. So now I need to decide, do I go into the suspension simulator in the car park centre to get the extra research ready for next year? Because they aren't dead expensive. They don't provide massive amounts of benefit, but they do seem to provide some. The design centre is basically the amount of projects that you can get going. And I think it also adds a little bit of extra points to each of your design. But it's bloody expensive, and I don't actually have enough money to take advantage of the extra design slots, so it seems pretty pointless to me spending any money on this until I actually start earning money from the Constructors' Championship. Then we have the factory, which is car part manufacturer. Now, it would be nice to be able to get another manufacturer slot, but it is bloody expensive. But I think just having one more manufacturer slot might actually prove useful, because I did have situations where I needed 4 slots basically. But I don't know whether it's worth 11 million just for that. Then we have the team hub, which is morale and development for my staff, and the race simulator, which is development for my drivers. Now, these could be pretty decent, but what I did on my sponsors was on driver appearances. It says driver development's paused for each week of each appearance, for the week of each appearance, and I've put the appearances up to maximum. So I've got a feeling that the driver appearances, or the driver development, is not going to go up at all, apart from what they get from the race themselves. I've also got another one here, race simulator. I've put that up to maximum as well. Oh, it does say reduced and not paused. So there's a chance that it might not be worth going into this race simulator, just simply because of the sponsor deals that I've signed. But it is dirt cheap, really, in comparison to the design things. So these are 2 things that I could consider going into. And then the weather center would be useful, just to be able to see more accurately the weather predictions. And race confidence gain, team attractiveness, sponsor target payout, team attractiveness, morale. So the morale might be useful, the memorabilia room. I think that's pretty much it, the memorabilia room and the weather center from this section. So the weather center's pretty cheap, and the memorabilia room is really cheap as well. So they're the things that I'm thinking of going into: weather center, memorabilia room, team hub, race simulator, and potentially the suspension and car part centers. So because the suspension simulator's condition is low, I'm going to invest into that next, because it just makes sense. Basically, if you upgrade, it also refurbishes at the same time. So I think I am going to do one on this and probably on this as well. But then after that, I'm thinking that I might just go into the team hub, race simulator, weather center, and memorabilia room. So that's where we're at for the facilities. And I think that is pretty much it. I don't think we're going to spend any money on staff quite yet. Probably do that next season. Drivers we're going to keep as they are. Joe hasn't performed quite as good as I expected him to. He's had probably 3 or 4 times as many accidents as Albon. And he's got the same stats, basically. So there must be some hidden stats or just terrible bad luck, I don't know. So I could consider taking Joe out. But for now, he's dirt cheap. If I wanted to get an equal driver, I'd have to pay probably 3 times as much money. Money's quite important at the moment, so I'm probably going to stick with the same drivers. The car parts, I'm considering getting some new designs for this year's car. Now, what I was considering doing was getting the lifespan up. So just designing one car part, or one design for each car part, and just giving it maximum lifespan. Now this is going to reduce my stats slightly, which is obviously not great, but it does mean that I'm going to have a lot longer lifespan. I'm going to have 8 to 15 instead of 6 to 11. Now, to be honest with you, I think I'm probably having more accidents than I am actually getting the car parts getting degradation and needing replacing from wear and tear. So I'm not sure whether this is actually worth it or not, but it is something to consider. Now what I can do is each time I get a wind tunnel ATR period, basically, each time I get an ATR period, I could spend it all on one car part and just upgrade one car part. At least that way. Oh no, the stats are still really low. Interesting. So even with all of the ATR added on, I've still got huge penalties to all of the aero. So it looks like the top speed and the cooling remains high from the ATR, but all of the aero gets completely ruined. Doesn't look like. So what we've got there, -1, 17, 11 and 9. If we take these off, -1, 17, 11 and 9, so it didn't really make much difference in terms of the aero. So I don't think it'd actually matter too much using the ATR. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. And that is about it for decisions that I'm going to have to make. So let's set up the pit crew. So basically, I exhausted all of my crew, putting them through loads of training, because I knew that I wasn't competing in the final 5 races or 4 races of the season. So I wasn't bothered about them being fatigued. So I put quite a lot of points into reducing the pit stop time. And if you look, we're down to 2.15 now, so that's really decent. So we're going to have a much better pit crew this year. So let's just take off all these car building, go on to cumulative, and then, so going through these different focuses is definitely better, in my opinion, to just do balanced on everything. So if I change this off and then back on, yes, it does change it to balanced. That's good. That's a quicker way to do it. So it's a bit of a pain having to do this. It would have been nice if balanced, if all of the presets were set to balanced. So you didn't have to do this. But it is the best way forward, in my opinion. So although it's time consuming, I think it's worth the effort. So what I really need to do is to decide whether to go for gym training or to go for the pit stop mistakes. So gym training reduces the estimated average time, and obviously the mistakes reduce the time, the chance of having like double the amount of time added to each pit stop. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to decide to do here. I could just do one of each. So yeah, it is very time consuming doing this. Now I don't know when the next race is, so I need to make sure that the pit crew aren't exhausted, just in case the next race is immediately at the start of the next month. So if we add one here and one here, then we're at 2% fatigue at the start of the next month. So that's fine. And if we have a look, we've reduced the chance of mistakes by 0.71. We've reduced the estimated pit stop time by 0.15. So I'm happy with that. In fact, that makes no sense to me. It says estimated pit stop time reduced by 0.15. Oh yeah, that is right, 0.15. Yeah. I was thinking it was 0.015. So yeah, that's an absolutely massive gain to the pit stop time. So maybe just doing the gym training. It's probably going to have a cap. It has to have a cap. Now, I know that these have a cap, but I haven't seen anywhere that says that the estimated pit stop time's got a cap. I'm actually tempted to just go fully into gym training just to see what the cap is on this, just to see if there is a cap on it. So I think I'm going to do that just out of curiosity rather than because I think it's the best way to go. So if you have a look on here on development, it says these have all got a cap of 90, and that's because my staff has got a cap of 90. But it doesn't say anywhere about the estimated pit time having a cap, which is why my curiosity is getting the better of me, and I'm considering just going all out into that, see if we can get it down to superhuman times. Okay, so let's advance time. In fact, before, yeah, I haven't got the cash to actually do anything at the moment, so I'm going to have to advance time until we get an injection of cash, and then I think I am going to develop some car parts with high wear. So let's have a look on here. We could have a look at the team roster, but we'll find out during the race. What have we got here? Promising talent, not bothered. Okay, so we've had a little bit of money come through. Let's have a look at how much these car parts actually cost. Too much. That's how much they cost. Too much. So we're going to need another injection of cash before we can do that. So we've got some scouting complete. I'm basically just scouting out all the staff at the moment, just for when I do decide that I want to upgrade my staff. But because I don't think any of these are really going to change much, so I think the scouting will be basically permanent, where obviously the drivers are going to be changing teams and renegotiating and stuff. So I think scouting the drivers, you'd have to do it constantly, where scouting the staff, I reckon, is going to be pretty much a one-time affair. Okay. +3 race hospitality event obligations scheduled. Wonder which one the race hospitality thing is. So it's basically going to give us more money and decrease the pit crew's performance on the race day. And it's not exactly much more money. I was basically penny pinching, turning this up to maximum. But I can carry on doing it, why not? Okay, let's stop. Driver development. So Alexander's not really going up. Pourchaire's gone up 1 on his overtaking, and Zhou has gone up 1 on his accuracy. But we've got enough money now to be able to develop some car parts. So let's go on the design. The front wing is probably the most important one. So this is where I need to decide. Now, based off last year's experience, the front wing, the chassis, and the suspension were the 3 parts that kept getting damaged all the time. So I don't think there's any point in putting the lifespan up of them 3. Then again, this has only got a lifespan of 3 to 5 races. That's pathetic. But they do only cost 300 grand. Yeah, what do I do? What do I do? That is the question. Because at the moment, we're on 10.87. If I did this, then, I mean, it's not a huge difference. The dirty air tolerance remains high. The brake cooling remains high. And I get an extra 1 to 2 races out of it. Go on, let's do it. Why not? Okay, so we're going to do the front wing and the rear wing. We haven't got any more ATR, obviously. I've just spent it all. So this is going to reduce my acceleration and my cornering, but it's going to increase the lifespan from 3 to 7 to 5 to 9. So it'll basically save us a bit of cash, but make my car a little worse in the performance. But yeah, let's just do it. I'm only going to do it for this one season. Probably not going to do this again in future seasons. Okay, so it was the chassis and the suspension that kept getting wrecked. So let's do the side pods. And then I might not bother with the chassis and the suspension. Okay, sorted. So they are the designs for this new season. We've got the pit crew training to do again. Oh god, all this setup at the beginning. Well, we've got to get it done, so let's just carry on. I'm going to just turn them all onto gym training for now. Okay, so what is this going to be? I've still got some... Oh no, I'm not on cumulative. Yeah, so I have still got more that I need to do. Right, so let's have a look, see what this has changed. So the chance of mistake has gone up by 18%, which is pretty disgusting. And the time reduced has gone down by 0.14. But that 0.14 is crazy. I want to see how low I can get it. And then if they make mistakes, then they make mistakes. Right, what are we up to here? So 39% tiredness. That's shot up through the roof. They obviously get more tired from this gem exercising than they do from the training. 27. 15. 4%. That'll do. Okay. In a min, 14. I think that might be the highest you can get then, because it was at 14 before, and it's still at 14. So maybe we've found the cap, 1.953. Because let's add... Oh, it might be because they were exhausted actually. No? 1.953? .953, so we've found the cap. 1.953. There we go, and now it's changing. 1.958, what's that changed by 0.6? So there we go, 1.953. Well, this is why we have to do science, so we find out these things. So now we can go into the drills. So that's at 7%, so we need to take off one of these. That's now at 2%, and we're at 1.953. There we go. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So what's that going to change? They're all just going to drop by 0.1. But we're going to have the fastest pit crew on the planet. Okay. I wonder if we get a better pit crew manager, if we can reduce that 1.953 even further. So if we get someone who's got higher than 90 aptitude, that's actually something that I'm really curious about. So if we click on here, performance 95, 92, 94, 91, 87. So what we could do is just put the training of our own staff and set it to train the aptitude. And then we'd be able to find out without actually having to buy a new staff. So let's go on aptitude and processes. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so that's that sorted. I just thought, with these car parts that I'm 6, 7, 8, 9, I've got an engineer spare that I haven't been using. I've got a warning here, idle engineers. Yeah, I figured it out just before I saw that. Right, post-Bahrain testing results. This is what I was curious to see. So we're 11th and 19th, so we're still 19th on the acceleration. That's terrible. 7th, 13th, 7th, 11th, 7th, 19th. So we're actually much better than we were last season, obviously. But our acceleration and engine cooling is still goddamn awful. But everything else is massively improved. So we could be fighting for points this season. That'd be really good. So I just need to work on the acceleration and the engine cooling. Right, race preparation. Let's see what... So it wants us to qualify in 14th. I reckon we can try it. Let's see if we can reach Q3 as well. And then finish in 14th. And we may as well try these hot streaks this year. 5 races in a row, finishing in 15th. That says 3 races in a row now. Why, when you click on it, does it change from 5 races to 3? And now it's just staying at 3? Okay, well, that was weird. Ah, it looks like you can actually change them yourself. Right, that's new. So you can actually decide what you want it to be. Double the risk. Double the reward. Well, what's the point in that? You may as well have the risk as low as possible if you're going to get the same amount of reward. Okay. That's interesting. Right, fair enough. That's cool. Well, let's leave that as it is, just to see where our car stacks up. But being able to change them is really, really cool. Yeah, that's really cool, that is. Nice. Okay. Well, I think we are ready for the first race of the season. And this episode has gone on long enough. So I'll probably call it a day for this one. And then on the next one, sponsor obligation, yeah. On the next one, we are going to start the first race of the season. Right, let's upgrade this memorabilia room. Add some morale. Right, cool. Done. Right, well, cheers for watching. Take care. I shall see you at Bahrain.